All right, so productivity mindset coaching, huh? Ready to dig in.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, so for this deep dive, we're checking out Blossom Minds. They're like all about this whole productivity mindset and spiritual coaching thing.
Interesting. Sounds kind of different, right?
Right. And get this, the coach in the video actually made it for people who are totally new to this, like it's their first time hearing about it.
Oh, perfect. Perfect for us then.
Exactly. So we can learn together.
All right.
Okay, so he starts by saying, and this is the coach, Krishna, he's like, look, productivity mindset coaching, it's not about cramming your schedule. We're not here to judge you or anything like that. It's more about like working with you, finding what actually works for your life.
I like that.
Right. And then he even says it's kind of like having a personal cheerleader, always in your corner, which I thought was super cute.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. That's really important, actually. You know, a lot of times when people think about productivity, they think stress, pressure, deadlines. So to kind of reframe it like that right off the bat, I think that's huge.
That's so true. I mean, just hearing that, I felt calmer already. But okay, so then he starts talking about why people actually seek out this type of coaching, right? Yeah. And of course, he mentioned stress, like that's a given, and anxiety. But he also said insomnia, which I was like, whoa, okay, this runs deep.
Absolutely. No, it makes sense though, right? If you think about it, if you're up all night, your mind's racing, that's going to impact your focus the next day. Your energy, it's all connected.
Exactly. And get this, it's not just like personal struggles either. He even mentioned team management, which I thought was really interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's like he's saying, you know, productivity isn't just about you getting your stuff done. It's about like effectiveness in every part of your life.
Totally. I mean, think about how much friction in a workplace is just because people aren't communicating well or their roles aren't clearly defined or, you know, things like that. So yeah, to address that, like the human side of it, that's huge.
Totally. Okay, so then it gets even more interesting. He starts talking about this thing, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Have you heard of this before?
I have, yeah. It's getting pretty popular now and for good reason. It's not just like a buzzword. It actually has a lot of research behind it.
Yeah, and he explains it in such a simple way. Like, I was kind of intimidated at first, you know, therapy. But basically, it's about recognizing how your thoughts, like what you're thinking, actually affects what you do, and then working to change those patterns if they're not helping.
Right.
Like, for example, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something like, you know, if you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm so bad at deadlines, you're basically just reinforcing that belief, and it's going to make it even harder to actually meet them.
Absolutely.
All right. It was kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes CBT so much more helpful than just like, you know, your typical self-help stuff.
Yeah.
Some actual techniques, you know, exercises to kind of rewire those thought patterns instead of just wishing you were different.
Right. Like you can actually do something about it. Okay, which brings me to the part that blew my mind. He actually says that this kind of coaching can lead to working less, but still hitting all your goals. Is that even possible? Like, it sounds too good to be true.
It is, kind of. But it's also not like magic, you know?
Right.
It's more like, think about how much time we all waste on things that aren't really important.
Oh, yeah.
Procrastinating,
Yeah.
doing tasks that we don't even need to do, stuff we're not good at even. It adds up.
That is so true. I've definitely been there. Like, so busy, but not actually getting anything done.
Exactly. And that's where the coaching comes in. It's about figuring out what's draining your energy and then finding ways to work smarter, not harder, so you can focus on what actually matters.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not about doing less. It's about being more intentional with what you are doing. Exactly.
Okay, I like that. It's like quality over quantity, right?
Yes. And this actually connects to another big thing he talked about, this idea of one size fits one.
Oh, yeah. That really stuck with me, too.
It's so important.
Like, he really stressed that his coaching is totally tailored to each person. You know? Your personality, your goals, what you struggle with. It's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Exactly. Because what works for one person might be a total disaster for someone else.
Right.
And that's where a lot of the traditional productivity advice, I think, kind of falls apart.
Totally. It's like those crazy morning routines you see everywhere online.
Oh, yeah.
Just because some CEO wakes up at 4 a.m. doesn't mean that's the key to success for everyone.
Right. It's about finding what works for you. And that's something a good coach can help you do. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, and I wanted to mention this too, because I thought it was so inspiring. He was saying how, like, when you go through this kind of transformation, it can actually affect the people around you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your productivity, it kind of rubs off on them.
I love that. Contagious productivity.
Right. Like imagine You start getting more done, feeling better, and then suddenly your whole workplace is more motivated and efficient.
That's a cool thought, right?
I know.
It speaks to how connected we all are.
Totally. And I think a big part of it comes back to, like we were saying, shifting your mindset, which actually I think this is a good time to talk about one of the biggest takeaways for me. So he kept talking about like cultivating a productivity mindset.
Yes, that's it right there.
It really got me thinking.
It's so key because he's saying it's not about just checking things off a list.
Right.
It's not about some rigid system.
It's deeper than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating this whole mental state, that supports focus, clarity, and then ultimately achievement.
Yeah, totally.
Understanding your own rhythms, how to manage your energy well, being intentional with your time.
Because like your mind is the engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just like any engine, it needs the right fuel, the right maintenance
Yeah, I like that.
to run smoothly, right? That's where mindfulness comes in, stress management, self-awareness.
See, those aren't things you normally hear about with productivity.
Right, but they're so essential. Think about it. How can you expect to really focus if you're worried or you're stuck in negative self-talk?
It's like impossible.
It's like trying to run a marathon with a pebble in your shoe,
Ugh, yeah, the worst.
Those little things, they can really trip you up.
And that's what I like about this whole approach. It's like it gets that
Holistic.
our minds and bodies, they're not separate.
They work together.
So it's not about like hacking your to-do list.
It's about building a mindset that supports you in the long run.
Sustainable success.
Yes, exactly.
So I think for anyone listening who's kind of, I don't know, overwhelmed by the usual productivity stuff,
Totally.
this is a breath of fresh air.
It really is. It's refreshing. It's about taking a step back and saying, okay, how can I work smarter, not harder? How can I reach my goals, but not burn out?
Without sacrificing, your well-being.
Exactly. It's about creating a life where you thrive,
I love that.
not just strive,
Yes, so well said. All right, so there you have it, our deep dive into productivity mindset coaching with Blossom Minds. We covered what it is, how it works, and honestly, some pretty amazing benefits.
Some really cool stuff.
What about you? What were your biggest takeaways? What really stood out? Let us know. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.